Hey YouTube, what's going on? ZeroMagnumX and welcome back, brawlers. Today we have a little bit more of a mid-range ramp kind of strategy for everyone. If you don't know what that terminology means, it means mid-range is trying to take the best of an aggressive strategy and control and combine them. So instead of trying to control our opponent like our first video or be very aggressive and all in like our second video, this is kind of the best of both worlds. It's right in that sweet spot where you try to make sure you have the upper edge and can get to your late game plays. Ventus is great for energy ramping, as we call it, getting more and more resources, so more and more energy to outclass our opponent. So to help us out, we have Trucks here. Alright, he has I guess it's a mithril shield, I'm not exactly sure the icon's actual name, and a helix. He has 500 base B power, 1 damage rating, and the cores I chose are this plus shadow core to kind of keep any shenanigans our opponent is attempting against us at bay if we grab the core first. And then the shield is plus 650 B, kind of ensuring that we win our battles if we land on it. Next up we have the... and to open him like I always do. Almost forgot. Next we have the Darkus Trox. You could use the Darkus Hydrus, but, or that's not Hydrus, there's Hydrus. Let's say I was picking up, Halcor by mistake. Sorry about that, but he and I don't get along right now. He doesn't like to close for me. My other lines do. He's a little stiff. So, if I can do something about it in the future, I will, and he's not really worth playing for the extra 100 B power until I get his Evo. At least that's how I feel. Maybe that will change in the future, but if you can easily close Darkus Hydrus, see, he's even sticking out just from me holding it, and yours isn't as finicky as mine, may want to go that route instead for the extra 100 B. Anyway, Trox has 2 Baku cores. He has the Helix and the orange shield. The Helix I chose is a trap Baku core. Minus 100 B power and minus 3 damage. Almost said plus. This is good to make sure that your opponent just loses a little bit of an edge, especially against Darkus Trox. Having that 700 B. And if you accidentally land on it with him, well, 600 B is still decent. We just won't be dealing any damage, but we're a mid-range deck. We're not looking to strike hard and fast immediately. And then for our orange shield, we picked a very particular Baku core. This can either be a nothing Baku core, or it can be, hey, plus 400 B for my Ventus Trox. It seems like an odd choice, but it's very specific for a reason. That's so that it's almost a net neutral. So either I get the benefit, or if my opponent is running Ventus or Aquas, they might get ahead of me a little bit, but that's a risk I'm willing to take. And there's little Darkus Trox. And finally, we have the Darkest Master himself, Nilius. He comes with a Green Fist Baku core and a Helix core. So the Green Fist I picked was for Darkest Bakugan. They get plus 100 and plus 3 damage. Kind of that middle ground Baku core for him, especially with 500 B power and 2 damage. You can buff him, get a little bit of chinks of damage in real quick if we get on there, and kind of crack our opponent's armor a little bit. Nothing too impressive, nothing too big, but enough to push. And because we do run 2 Darkest Bakugan, it can come in handy. And then the Helix I picked was a plus 500 B but minus 1 damage. Now this might ensure our opponent wins victories if they pick up this core, but it'll also hurt them on damage. I really wish the swing was stronger, but I'll take what I can get while the game is still new. And there is Nilius himself. Alright, I'll slide these over so we can check out the main deck itself. Okay, starting with the Ventus cards. We have Piercing Scream. It's 2 energy to give a Bakugan minus 400 beat power. And I believe we run 2 of these because I don't care for the rate. I actually care for the next card's rate more, but I only own 2 of it. So eventually I'd like this to transfer, if you have the cards, to be a 1 with nature and another nature's power. So we do run 2 nature's power because for 1 energy we can give a non-Ventus Bakugan minus 500 beat. This almost ensures that you will win your victories immediately out of the gate, turn 1. If your opponent isn't on Ventus and you play this card, you just knock them out of the water. It gives you that push that you need to start getting ahead and get into your ramp strategy while ensuring that you are winning. Next we have Diamond Trucks. Now this is an important thing to note. This card is a Diamond Bakugan, so you will not be able to evolve on top of it after you play this card. However, its victory is so good. You get to energize the top card of your deck uncharged, so you can get really far ahead of your opponent and make sure that you are just controlling the flow of the game. Make sure you're up on resources. Make sure that, hey, yeah, you have that super aggressive strategy, but I won because of this, and now my flip cards are much cheaper. So we run 3 Diamond Trucks, and we also run 1 Titan Trucks. He's 5 energy with 1000 B power, 4 damage, and has the same ability, but you get to charge 2 energy cards. So you kind of have to pick and choose based on how the game's going and what decision you're making. I stayed away from the 5-drop because a lot of 4-drops in this game, meaning the energy cost. Sorry if you're not used to that. 4-class cards in the game already have 1000 B power. So the upside of getting 2 energy kind of also combats the fact that you might be sitting against a vanilla that can just match you on equal footing. So 1 of that. Next, saucy 1 of tech is Endless Growth. For X energy, so as much as you want to pay into it, you may use any number of energy to play it. For each energy used, give a Bakugan either plus 100 B power or plus 1 damage. This is kind of a finale card. If we're going in for a team attack, we can get a lot of damage out quickly if we know our opponent's on the ropes. So quite a good card. Only a 1 of. I don't know if I want 2, but I think 1's where we want to be at to start with. Next up we have Winton Styles. This is our MVP of the deck. This is the card that makes sure that our Bakugan gets silly big toward the end game. This is our goal, our eventual push, is that final effect. A lot of decks may not go for it. It might just, they just want to try to charge. We're trying to get to the 1500B in this deck. We're trying to make sure we punish our opponent and our Bakugan are bigger always, and we're going to win victory after victory after victory to close the game. By doing that, that's why we run all the ramp cards that we do, and Winton himself. I'd like to get a 3rd, but right now I only own 2. A regular and a hex, but still only 2. Alright, next we have 3 Turn to Energy. It's a basic ramp card. You play it on turn 2. That's why it's important to win your victory on turn 1. Mitigate that damage. And I only own 2. So, we have a backwards card as a proxy for that. It's a common. I should be able to pick it up fairly easily. I just haven't gotten more products since that 3rd box. And I haven't seen my friends who play in order to pick up the 3rd. Alright, and then I mentioned before 1 with nature. This card's really good. It sets you back on your game plan of having your turbo mechanic unlocked, but equally, it's a 2 energies card that wipes any hero card out of the way. They have a Dankuzo, no problem. They have a Magnus, no problem. You just get rid of it. Quick, clean, and easy. Alright, now on to the flip cards for Ventus. Again, with the ramp strategy, we run... it is actually just called Photosynthesis. I was misreading this card earlier. Alright, so 3 Photosynthesis. For a flip card, we just charge it It's uncharged, so it kind of stinks. I wish it would just be charged, so then that way you could continue play and kind of go through a flurry of them. Or even, like, you know, play into this card. Although this does play into this, it cascades into it. So if we play this, immediately have more energy, and then we see this, well, we can play for free because we have more energy than our opponent. So this is Tiger Reflex, and we have 3 of those. And now that concludes the Ventus part. We're going to get on the Darkus part. This is going to be a little bit shorter of a segment because it's not as intensive as the Ventus part. So we run Stone Skin ×2. This is just to get that plus 800B. It has one of the best rates in the game for Darkus. So it's good to capitalize on that at just the cost of discarding a card. Maybe you have an extra flip card in your hand or something you can't use. Throw it away, and boom, plus 800B. Next, we have 1D. I think I want a second one of this, because it gives plus shadow to your Darkus Bakugan, and we have 2 Darkus Bakugan. So that's 2 of our cards that can't be affected by negative conditions. We also have a Lightning, which helps us in that energy reduction strategy that we're going for. So our flip cards cost 1 less to play. Only own 1 of him too. Kind of want to pick up some more. Next we have, I believe we're on 2 Gorgonod's Gaze. Destroy a hero with 4 or less cost. A little bit more limiting than one with nature, but it also doesn't net them a resource. So it's just straight up, hey, get rid of your Dankuzo, hey, get rid of your Winton, and continue playing. Alright, to help us again in that early game to kind of shift toward later game, we run 3 Prismatic Shields. It's 1 energy for plus 200B. Sometimes that can be the decisive factor if you win a battle or not. It's not flashy, but it can get the job done. Next up, we have our other card we're ramping to, which is Magnus. Okay. So whenever you play this, a Bakugan gets plus 5000B. There's nothing in the game that can stand up to that right now, unless they have a ton of cards in hand and can combo up. So then you can, when you win, discard a card, so that card gains or attack power equal to the card you discarded. We run a 3 Magnus, so that way if we ever need to pitch a Magnus for that 8 damage, we can. Or sometimes we just want to play the second one. And then finally, for our non-flip cards, we have 2 Titan Ilias. I like to find a third. I only own 2. My general rule of thumb, like I said before, is if you're milling cards off the top of your deck, run 3 copies of cards you want to see. This card's super important. It's one of the deck's win conditions. Victory may discard a card to add plus 4 damage. You can use it any number of times. So if you know your opponent's in a spot where maybe you were in some battle and they had to use some cards to stop you because you're getting a good attack, and you throw this guy down, and you're just like, alright, well, he's 13 base B. We're going to win this battle. And now we just ditch our hand to just like pump you for damage because you can't play flip cards. Kind of pushing your opponent into a corner. And that's kind of the point of this deck, is getting them into that corner so you ensure victory. Alright, now we have our flip cards. They're pretty simple and straightforward. I actually didn't have them in order, so my apologies. We have Black Hole for 3 energy. It just stops the turn. And it just immediately starts the next one. You just stop everything your opponent's trying to do. If they're trying to heighten damage or anything like that, they cannot. Still kind of, the nice thing about it is it's better than Cease Outsiders, because it even stops opposing Darkus decks. I think this is one of the most important Darkus flip cards. Unfortunately, I only have 1. The same with Pact of Darkness. Although it only stops non-Darkus Bakugan again. Sacrifice, you can discard a card to make this free. I only own 1. Otherwise, I'd run this over Cease Outsiders. I'd probably do like a 2-2 split, or maybe a 1-1 split, and run like 3 Black Hole. And then finally, 3 Cease Outsiders. Just a generic stop card that everybody seems to be using for any decks that are using flip cards to stay alive longer. Anyway, YouTube, I hope you enjoyed this deck profile. and hopefully give you some ideas out there, and let me know in the comments what you think. And remember, keep battling brawlers. Have a good day, and take care, YouTube. Later, everybody.